Well, after that massive finale, I think there's one big character that we need to talk about in The Boys. That is Victoria Neuman, the up-and-coming villain that burst onto the scene in a mind-blowing way. Throughout this video, we're going to be going through everything we know about the character, their comic book counterpart, and our theories on what could be happening in the future. There will be heavy spoilers here, so if you still haven't had a chance to check out the finale yet, then I highly recommend that you make like Shockwave and head off. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for videos like this every day, and please drop a thumbs up if you enjoy it. With that out of the way, this is the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, aka the Spoiler Man. Now let's get into the breakdown. Okay, so Victoria is actually a gender swap of the character Victor K. Newman from the comics. In the original work, Victor was actually the former CEO of Vought, and throughout the series we watch as the corporation manipulate the political landscape in order to get one of their own into the White House. Vic is America's vice president, and eventually he ascends to the hot seat after Vic kills the main man himself. The power that he brings allows him to pass laws that enable Vought to receive large contracts, and it opens the doors for Supes to infiltrate all aspects of society. Vic even knocked out the president during 9/11 so that Vought could send Supes out to save a plane, which would hopefully boost their public image. However, this actually led to them crashing it into the Brooklyn Bridge, but Vic kept the public's attention away from this, and thus there wasn't really any retribution. Vic is pretty much a complete moron, and at the time he was put in place as a parody of George Bush, who, depending on who you voted for, you'll either love or also think is a moron. What do you mean you were 5 years old at the time and couldn't vote? Anyway, because he's so simple-minded, Victor, or Vic The Veep as he's known to many, is easy to manipulate, and with one of their own in the White House, Vought gained more and more power. However, as with most characters in the comics, Victor comes to a sticky end and Homelander actually murders him, rips off his head, and then plays about with it like a basketball in the Oval Office. Yikes. It's a massive moment that comes at the end of the run, and it's the culmination of Homelander's Supe uprising. Now the show is clearly differing from the comics in several ways. Not only is Vic now a woman, but she's incredibly savvy, and on the surface, not easily led. I actually have a theory that she might be able to also influence people mentally, and this could be how she's risen through the ranks so quickly. I'm basing that on absolutely nothing though, but hopefully if my mind control powers work, you'll also believe that it's true. Oh sorry, don't dislike the video. Now we learn in the finale that Victoria can make people's heads explode, but her powers could potentially go far beyond that, and who knows what other levels she can control it at. Now what we know about Victoria, there's very little, but clearly she's a parody of AOC, a congresswoman of New York who recently rose through the ranks of politics. Newman is seen as a sort of wunderkind, who on the surface seems to be against all forms of Vought and the superheroes. She badmouths Homelander in public and holds rallies against him, and also helps to head up the US Judiciary Committee to start investigating the ins and outs of Compound V. Victoria is also instrumental in getting specific information across to the CIA, and after she causes the death of Raina, she helps Grace Mallory to close in on the corporation. Towards the end of the season, she even coaches Lamplighter and runs through his testimony so that he can blow the doors wide open on what could really be going on at Vought. After he ends up going out in a blaze of glory, through help from Billy Butcher, Vogelbaum agrees to testify. However, at the hearing, he and several other key people are taken out by her and her crazy mind control powers. Now this is pinned on Stormfront, but as we learn in the finale of season 2, it was Vic behind this the entire time. There are currently 2 theories going on surrounding this, and we're just going to be discussing them both. Now the first one is that Vic managed to access Compound V herself through either being a Vought experiment or by getting it through her political power. The character does seem to really dislike Vought, and if this is true then she likely wants to take them down and is using fire to fight fire against them. Vic will likely ascend to the position of the president at some point in the series, and thus she'll be able to tackle them head on. It also makes sense why she killed Adana, as we learned that he had several files on the company that she could take and then use to blackmail them. Now the other theory is that she's actually a member of Vought herself, and that they put her in place in order to get Compound V released to the public, which would allow the stock prices of the corporation to rise extensively. Is extensively the word? Exponentially. Now this would be in line with the comics, as in that Vic was of course a company plant, and it would allow the corporation to play both sides of the fence, all whilst pushing their products to the public. Screen Crush did a fantastic video on this That kind of goes over all the hints and clues throughout the season that pointed out she was a Soup, so definitely check it out after this. Now, an interesting point that they did pick up upon is that Vic actually has a daughter, and as we know from Ryan, Soups having children isn't that common. Stormfront clearly told Ryan that he was the first ever naturally born Soup, and as we know from the tagline of the series, heroes aren't born, they're made. I do take this thing about Ryan being true, and thus the clues about when Vic received V are laced throughout this season. At several points she mentions having a daughter, and because of this we can take it that she was given V as an adult, rather than being injected with it whilst in the womb. Personally, I think that Cindy was actually the one that developed the power after being injected, and then Vought managed to find a way to transfer the head popping ability over to her as an adult, and thus she started working for them. There's also potential that the corporation actually have her child hostage, and this is why she's willing to do whatever she can to cover up their crimes. Now, it could really go either way at this point, but I tend to lean more towards the latter theory as it just lines up a lot more with the comics. Now, as for her powers, it has been guessed that she has to maintain eye contact when doing this in order to be able to carry out the head popping thing that it's sending everyone wild this summer. When Homelander arrives at her rally, she doesn't take her eyes off him, and Screen Crush theorized that this is because she must be looking directly at her target in order to pull it off. This makes sense as to why she was looking into Adana's office, and as Vought learned that the church had blackmail material on the company, it seems like she had to go after him directly in order to stop this from getting into the wrong hands. At the end of the season, she also hires Huey, and thus it is likely that she did this to get away to spy not only on him, but the boys themselves. Now, they do seem pretty disbanded by the end of the season, but should they come back together at any point, Vic will be able to keep a close eye on their activities and report it to Edgar. The boys were pretty much created to keep an eye out on all of Vaught's activities, and I love how the roles have been flipped here so that it's actually Vought keeping an eye on them. Now, things will likely come out into the open, and as we've seen from Vic, there is a tell to her powers, which is that her eyes turn white. So I think it will get to the point where people review the footage of the hearing and see that she was looking directly at her colleague's head when it exploded, and that her eyes were also white when this was occurring. You don't really see this in the footage itself, as I'm guessing that the show wanted to stop Easter egg hunters like myself from uncovering it too early, but I think that this probably will be revealed down the line. Now, that's Victoria Neuman and everything that we know about her so far. Obviously, I'd love to hear your thoughts and theories, so make sure you drop them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure you check out our full breakdown of the finale, which is going to be linked at the end. We go over the entire episode, so definitely give it a watch if you want more boys content after this. Don't forget, we're also giving away 3 copies of the Marvel Phase 1 box set, and all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below. The winner is going to be chosen at random on the 30th of October, so make sure you get involved. If you want to support the channel and get to see content early, then please consider clicking the join button below. You can also come chat to us on a Discord server linked in the description, or at Heavy Spoilers on Twitter. Thanks for making it until the end of the video. You've been the best, I've been Paul, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.